Welcome back to the Swearwolves. I'm Bret. Today's episode is episode 247, Kids Do the Damndest Thing. In this episode, David and I review John Carpenter's Village of the Damned. Now, this is the last, well, not the last, it's not the last, but it's the last one for us, John Carpenter horror movie. We had reviewed all the other theatrically released horror films that he has made, and this would be the last one for us to review. I had seen this movie years ago, and David had also seen this movie years ago, but didn't really remember too much about it, other than that it was like Christopher Reeve's last film before he got into his accident, which was quite sad, and we talk about that a little bit on this episode. This episode is 247. We have three more episodes before we take our indefinite break. Don't know if we'll be back or when we'll be back, but we definitely will post content from time to time. Probably some videos on collectibles and maybe unboxings of toys and shit like that that I unfortunately have a bad habit of buying. Unfortunate or fortunate? I mean, I guess I'm fortunate that I can buy them, but it's unfortunate because I feel like always compelled to do that. It's like collecting. It's like a collector's mentality. I don't know if any of you are collectors out there, but being a collector, it's like it's never like finished. Maybe that's what there's got to be some psychological issue out there. I don't know if someone's a psychologist, but collecting is like you just need to have more. You need to have more. It's never done. It's like not hoarding, because hoarding, I feel like there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just keeping shit, just being like, oh, someday I'll need this. Someday I'll need this, and you have newspapers from 1973 that you're like, someday maybe I'm going to get around to reading that. Whereas collecting is like, I like stamps and I'm going to collect stamps. And every stamp I see, I need to buy a stamp. I need to buy a stamp. I need to have the collection. I need to finish the collection. But the collection's never complete because they're going to always make new stamps. And where I'm at right now is like, I collect action figures primarily, and they keep coming out with new ones. So it's like, oh, I need to get that one. I need to get that one. I need to get that one. It's a real... It's fun. It's a fun hobby to have, but sometimes it's like, is it ever going to be complete? Probably not. Village of the Damned, John Carpenter. David just saw John Carpenter. He was down in Texas Frightmare. He didn't meet him. We met him before at Steel City Con last year. David went down to Texas Frightmare because there was a few people from The Thing that we needed. As you can see, my Thing poster is not there anymore. It's now the Mutilator, because I sent my Thing poster to David so he could get it signed by Joel Polis and Richard Masser. So he did that for me, so I thank him. And then once I get it back, I'll put it back up. So John Carpenter was there. David didn't meet him because the line was fucking long, as it should be. He's John Carpenter, for God's sakes. So enjoy episode 247, Kids Do the Damndest Thing. Welcome back to the Swearwolves. I'm Bret.
I'm David.
David.
Hey, Bret.
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good.
Okay, so you wanted to tell me like you fucked up something, like far as like telling people where you're going to be, when you're going to be.
Yeah, I realized I'm bad at counting and using a calendar, because I think in our last episode I was like, oh, I'll say next week where I'm going to be, and then today I looked at the calendar and I went, oh shit, I've already been there. When this episode comes out, I've actually already returned from where I was. Mm-hmm. But where I sit right now in the real world with you, Bret, mm-hmm. I have not yet gone, but I fucked it up. So if you're listening to this, I was at Texas Frightmare last weekend. I haven't actually gone yet.
Just a couple days ago.
I'm going next weekend. But when this episode comes out, to correct the universe, I will be in California for Monster Palooza this weekend.
Yes.
So if you see me, flag me down. I'll be there Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, and you're going to be my little bitch that day, because you're going to be going around getting a bunch of Nightmare on Elm Street 4 people that I need.
I'm going to be your little bitch boy. Yeah, I think I only have like maybe 2 people that I need for myself, and then the rest is just me doing your bitch work. But that's cool. You've done plenty for me, so it's all good.
Yeah, and they should be pretty easy ones to get. I mean, they're all people that their line's probably not going to be too long. Yeah, I say that now, and you're going to be there all day.
I got nothing else to do, so I may as well.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. And you're going on Friday and Saturday?
Yep. Looking forward to it.
So Fridays notoriously slow days for shows.
Yeah. And one thing that's nice is when we record episode 249, I think I'll be back from one of them. So you can hear me share my thoughts probably on at least Texas Frightmare in that episode. And then our last episode, 250, I think I can probably share a little bit about Monster Palooza.
Yeah. And also you can share about your European trip that you have coming up soon.
That's right. That'll be right when I get back. We'll record that last episode.
You're such a jet setter.
I know. I'm going to have like a fucking fake accent when I get back. Like, oh, I spent so much time there that it must have worn off on me.
Hello. That's cool. Texas Frightmare, I'm sure, was good. We'll know more when you tell us. But we're thinking about these last few episodes that we're going to record. We have 4, including this one. We have 4 remaining. And, to kind of pull the curtain back here, there's some loose ends that we wanted to tie up.
Yeah, too many to address, but we're doing our best.
Too many to address, but we thought we'd tackle like the big ones. We kind of did that with Halloween 6 when we reviewed that one last week. Although we are aware, and we talked about it, that there's other Halloween movies past 6, but that kind of closes off that whole like
the Thorn
Daniel Harris.
Yeah.
The Thorn, the Jamie, whatever the fuck.
Jamie
Lloyd character.
Jamie Lloyd Curtis.
Danielle Lee Curtis. There's a couple other major franchises that we haven't reviewed everything yet, and I think we're saving that for the end. I mean, spoiler alert, it's Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure those out. And then I was sitting there thinking, because we were like, well, we got to kind of do maybe another episode. And I was thinking about it one day, and I was like, we never did Village of the Damned by John Carpenter.
Yeah. When was the last time we blew John Carpenter?
And I think it's only fair because it's kind of like it bookends the beginning of the podcast, because I think it was about like the 3rd episode or the 4th episode that we did like The Thing, and we talked about John Carpenter.
Yeah, that was pretty early on.
So it's kind of like, oh yeah, we started the podcast off with Friday the 13th, and we'll probably end with a Friday the 13th movie, and it's kind of like you can listen to it's like a palindrome, our podcast, if you listen to it forwards and back.
It's like a race car.
The only thing we didn't get was Alan to be back for the last 100 episodes, because he was here for the first 100, but he missed 50, and then I'll be
we
back
really
for
fucked up on that one.
Yeah, we didn't really pre-plan that, but Village of the Damned is the movie that we chose.
Yes.
Had you ever seen this movie?
Yes, but I couldn't remember if I saw it on TV or if my parents rented it, like when I was in high school and we watched it. And then after watching it, I still wasn't sure. Because I was like, oh, if it's super gory, like I'll remember like, oh, I don't remember that. But spoiler, it's not super gory. So I was like, I have no fucking idea.
And I hadn't seen this movie until a few years ago. I bought this 4-movie collection. It's 2 DVDs, and it's got They Live, The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and Village of the Damned on these 2 discs. Something's wrong with my Xbox, because I put the disc into my Xbox and it's like, I can't read it. And it couldn't read another disc earlier. And I'm like, I don't have 2 DVDs that are fucked up.
You're screwed.
So I had to rent it. I could have gone to another room in the house and watched it, but I'm like, I needed to be up in my office.
I rented it too, because I also do not own this movie. In fact, I said I've seen it.
Well, I do own it. That's the fucked up thing. So
I don't even remember much about it though. Like I remember that Christopher Reeve was in it and Kirstie Alley, but that was it. So like when Mark Hamill spoiler popped up, I was like, oh shit, he's in this movie? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I have no memories of it from back when it came out, but let's just kind of get right into it, I guess. Village of the Damned, released April 28th, 1995. That was senioritis was kicking in for me. Man. I graduated at the end of May.
And I was graduating 8th grade.
There you go. So you had 8th grade-itis.
I did.
It's called the clap.
It's called herpes.
What was the number 1 movie? You know what? I saw this movie in the theater too.
Oh, did you? Okay.
The number 1 movie, yeah.
I don't know. I guessed, but I could see young Bret going to the movies to see this. I went with Bad Boys.
No. As a matter of fact, I've never seen Bad Boys.
I don't think I have either. I haven't seen any of them.
No, neither have I. And it's not that I was like disinterested. I liked Will Smith at the time, and I liked Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
No, this movie is a romantic comedy. And young Bret probably saw it. I mean, I know young Bret saw it because there was a girl who he liked that probably wanted to see it. And
did you see it with her?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Look at you.
But that didn't lead. We were like friends or something.
Did you hold hands?
No. Young Bret was also very timid.
Young David was very similar. Like, I think my first date at a movie was Steven Spielberg's The Lost World. And I remember like she was sitting next to me and I was like, oh, should I try to hold her hand? What do I do?
Yeah. I didn't know how to do anything like that.
And I think I didn't. I think I just sat there and watched the movie with her sitting next to me also watching the movie.
My first date to a movie with a girl was when I was a junior in high school. I went and saw Wayne's World 2.
Nice. Dude, I think the first movie that I saw on a date that I could like drive myself, because like that date, The Lost World, like mom had to pick me up in the parking lot. Super cool. I think it was The Wedding Singer. I think that might have been the first movie I took a date
That's a
to
good
see.
one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I saw The Wedding Singer on Valentine's Day in the movie theater with my friend Carlos.
Wait, I think we've talked about this because I think,
so.
I saw it on Valentine's Day. Just the circumstances were a little different.
Yeah. I did hold Carlos's hand. And you know what the fucked up thing is? Carlos had a girlfriend. And he just spent the Valentine's Day with me. They didn't last that long. I mean, they lasted a lot longer than that moment, but I guess she was okay with it. I don't know.
Speaking of The Wedding Singer, and you and I talked off mic a little bit before we started recording. In this timeline, I went and saw The Cure last night, and I took my niece to see it because it's like one of her favorite bands. And we got talking about The Wedding Singer because somebody had a Wedding Singer shirt that they were wearing. Okay. But do you remember the part where John Lovitz is like watching Adam Sandler have like a fucking mental breakdown, and he's like, he's losing his mind, and I'm reaping all the benefits. And then the curtain like goes past his face. There was this creepy dude who was like standing behind a curtain like next to where we were, and I leaned over to my niece and I was like, he's losing his mind. It was pretty awesome. And she was like, and I'm reaping all the benefits.
Yeah,
good kid.
That's one of the lines that we quote quite a bit.
Oh, I love it.
My wife is a huge Adam Sandler fan. We've talked about that before, I believe, where she loves all of them.
All of it, even the shit.
Except for the Zohan one. But even the one where he's the brother and the sister, I forget what that one's called.
Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill.
With Al Pacino, Dunkachino.
Yeah, the Dunkachino. I still say Dunkachino when I go to Dunkin' Donuts. So stupid. No, the number one movie that I saw with this girl was While You Were Sleeping.
Oh, Sandra Bullock?
Sandra Bullock and Peter Gallagher with the big eyebrows.
Yeah, I never saw that.
And then there's the other guy. I forget who the other guy is. It's probably
he gets in a coma or something?
Yeah.
That's
and he wakes up.
And she's banging some other guy?
No. This is what happens in the movie. He goes into a coma. She doesn't know him, but everybody assumes that it's his girlfriend. And so while he's in the coma, she just plays along with it.
Oh yes, she kind of cashes in.
And then she falls in love with his brother.
And then he wakes up.
This guy's out. And then this guy wakes up. He's like, I don't know who the fuck this is. Isn't she the chick that was driving the bus in Speed? And they're all like, yeah,
the girl
that's
from
right.
the bus.
David, what were you dancing to? April 28th.
I could have been dancing to this song. Well, I wasn't dancing to shit. I was probably a wallflower. You go, no, nobody wants to dance. Also, sidebar, the Cure concert. Yeah. I've never seen so many men dancing. There's a lot of dudes just dancing.
Yeah. Was there a lot of like 50-year-olds?
Oh, yes. It was a very old crowd. In fact, my niece, who's 14, I think was the youngest person I saw the entire evening. Yeah. She was like the only kid. It was a lot of older people, but a lot of dudes dancing, but like real bad, like dad dancing, like pointing fingers and stuff.
Fingers up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
Show me how you do that trick.
Yep. It was just like that. They played that song and that person danced just as you did. I'm going to go with a little This Is How We Do It by Montel Jordan.
Friday night. That's right.
That's right.
The number one song. You got it, David. I didn't know if you'd get this. Get that. You big Montel Jordan fan? Did you have his poster?
I didn't mind that song. There's a part of the song where he says something like, the party's underway. And I remember when I was a kid, I thought he said the party's underwear. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it's an underwear party.
Yeah, exactly.
You just wear your underwear.
It's my kind of party.
If you don't wear underwear, well, you can still come in, but you got to get down to the skivvies.
Mm-hmm.
Village of the Damned, written by David Himmelstein. Hey, David Himmelstein? David Himmelstein? Doesn't matter. I guess it does to him. With uncredited rewrites by John Carpenter. Directed by John Carpenter, music by John Carpenter, and also Dave Davies.
Of the Kinks. Yeah.
Of the Kinks. Yeah, lead guitarist, backup vocals, him and his brother. The Kinks are, I mean, we've said this before. I love the fucking Kinks.
As do I. And Dave Davies' son is John Carpenter's his godfather. And they do, he's the one that does like Halloween Kills with
Cody.
Yeah, with Cody Carpenter and John Carpenter.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're good friends.
The best of friends.
This movie was produced by Michael Prager. And it's Praggers. Well, much like a lot of people in this movie. And Sandy King, who is John Carpenter's wife, right?
Were they married at the time, or is this maybe how they met?
I don't think they were married,
okay.
But I don't know. Cody is their son, right?
Yes. Ooh, wait, no. Is Cody his kid with Adrienne Barbeau?
I
don't know. He's somebody's kid.
He's somebody's kid.
Get Barbeau on the horn. Let's get this figured out.
And Adrienne Barbeau is his mom.
Okay.
This movie stars Christopher Reeve as Dr. Alan Chaffee, Linda Kozlowski as Jill McGowan. Linda Kozlowski, Crocodile Dundee.
Crocodile Dundee, yeah. Like when I saw her, I was like, what do I know her from? And I looked her up. She looks kind of like Meryl Streep. I never really noticed that before.
She kind of looks like Meryl Streep. She kind of looks like the chick who played Mama Firefly in the second.
Oh, yeah.
Devil's Rejects.
Easterbrook. Oh, what's her name? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Kind of looks like her. But yes, she doesn't do movies anymore. It was like right after this movie or the next movie. It was right after Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles or Hollywood or California or whatever the fuck it was called.
She's like, done.
Yeah, she's like, I've been getting shit scripts sent to me.
Oh, she's like, I've reached the pinnacle. There's nowhere to go from here, so I'm going to retire on top.
And then she divorced Crocodile Dundee, Paul Hogan. But I hope she's doing well. Kirstie Alley, R.I.P. Christopher Reeve's dead also. We're going to talk more about that in a second. But Kirstie Alley as Dr. Susan Werner. Michael Paré as Frank McGowan. Michael Paré.
On the dark side.
Yeah, I know him best as Eddie from Eddie and the Cruisers. Meredith Salinger plays Melanie Roberts. Meredith Salinger is now married to Patton Oswalt.
Really? Okay.
So Patton Oswalt's first wife, she passed away unexpectedly after she caught the fucking Golden State Killer. And then, did you know that about his first wife?
I knew that she died, but I didn't know.
she did a bunch of fucking research. She was like she wasn't a detective. She was like one of these
just
like
independently like researching stuff and figured some shit out.
And she figured out who the Golden State Killer was. Wrote a book about it. Unfortunately, she passed away before the book came out. But then they arrested the guy.
Caught the guy, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Anyway, so now he's married to Meredith Salinger, who was in the movie The Journey of Natty Gann.
I looked her up, yeah. Was she Natty Gann? I didn't go that far. I just saw that she was in it.
She was Natty Gann. And you know why I recently looked that movie up? Because you sent me a text message the other day, and you're like, you remember this movie? And I was like,
oh, yeah.
What movie?
It was Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken.
Yeah. Because that was directed by Steve Miner.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. But you were like, my sister loved this movie. And when I saw that, I thought it was Natty Gann for a second. Like, I don't know why, but I was like, is that Natty Gann? And I was like, oh no, that movie's called The Journey of Natty Gann or whatever. Never seen either one of those movies, by the way. Okay. Mark Hamill plays Luke Skywalker playing Reverend George. Peter Jason plays Ben Bloom. Peter Jason, people would know from other John Carpenter flicks. He was in They Live. He's like the head of the people.
The underground society.
Yeah.
The good guys, mind you.
The good guys, yeah. And then there's a couple of the children. Thomas Decker, he's the kid David.
Yeah, I recognized him from an episode of Seinfeld. There's like
he's done some other stuff, but he was also in the TV show for Terminator.
The Sarah Connor Chronicles or whatever.
Yeah, he was John Connor.
Dude, it's funny. When I saw that kid, I was like, what do I know that kid from? And it was driving me nuts, but not nuts enough to look it up. And my wife walks by the TV and she's like, is that the kid from that Seinfeld episode with the birthday card signed by all the baseball players? And I was like, yes.
And then Lindsay Hahn plays Mara, which is Christopher Reeve's daughter in this. And she was in True Blood.
Really?
She was one of the waitresses, I believe, at the
Oh, okay. At the restaurant?
At the bar. And she was also in a lot of like Disney show type flicks and stuff like that. She's been in some things. I recognized her. I was like, that's a young her. And then I looked it up. I was like, you are right, Brett.
Confirmed.
Runtime of this movie, 98 minutes. I thought that was rather long. Actually, when I saw the 98 minutes, I had already watched the movie, and I was like, oh, it didn't feel like 98 minutes. So I guess that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Budget was $22 million. David, what do you think it did at the box office?
Oh, dear. Well, I'll tell you what it didn't do. $22 million. There's no way. Oh, shit. I'll go 10. That's probably generous.
You're about right. 9.4 million.
Just facts. Just facts. Just facts, man.
Here's some facts for you, David. This is straight from IMDb, so you know it's got to be true. John Carpenter described this film as a, quote, contractual assignment, which he was, quote, not really passionate about. So
what could go wrong?
He also filmed it basically in his backyard because he filmed it right near where he was living at the time. And he was happy about that. He was like, I'll do this movie if we can film it here.
That's cool.
So then he didn't have to go anywhere. As I mentioned before, Christopher Reeve did pass away. Not right after this movie. However, what happened right after this movie released in May of 1995 was an accident when Christopher Reeve was horse riding and he got paralyzed.
That's crazy. I knew it had to be close to around this movie came out. I didn't know it was that close, like weeks.
Yeah, it was a month after.
That's crazy.
Yeah. John Carpenter worked with Universal on this movie, and he said that it was like a really awesome experience, and he loved it, and he was set to remake Creature from the Black Lagoon after this movie. But then this movie tanked, and Universal just went, no, thanks.
That sucks. Aw, for shame.
And they've never remade that movie. They talked about it because they were going to do that Dark Universe Universal movie, but then Tom Cruise was like, let me do The Mummy, everybody.
Yep. And that movie tanked.
And they're like, Tom Cruise, yeah, you'd be perfect for a horror movie. You fucking... Well, I guess he did Interview with a Vampire, but that was years ago. Like, Tom Cruise is like Mission Impossible, like do your own stunts guy.
I think
now.
action.
That Peter Jason, that actor... Mm-hmm. We were talking about, plays Ben. He was in charge of helping the child actors get into character and behave on set and behave like as a unit and stuff. Like, yeah, he was like kind of like, all right, kids,
all right, you little shits.
Getting back to John Carpenter real quick. Supposedly, the rumor is that he turned down an offer to direct Basic Instinct in order to make this film.
Really? Mm-hmm. Ouch.
What do you think about that?
That's a misstep. I love you, John. I'm sorry. You should have taken Basic Instinct.
I'm gonna argue.
It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same movie, though.
No, I'm gonna argue that if he would have directed Basic Instinct probably wouldn't have ended up like it did. That hit that it was. By the way, Basic Instinct, not really that great of a movie.
It is not.
He wouldn't have filmed that shot.
That famous scene. Oh yeah, absolutely. John Carpenter would not have done that.
And so that wouldn't have made it as popular as it was. Henceforth, Sharon Stone wouldn't have become as popular as she was. I'm not saying she's not a good actress. I'm saying that one moment got her moment.
Yeah, it's a very famous movie scene.
Yeah. Sharon Stone does great in the movie Casino, by the way. She's a really good actress.
Dude, that's phenomenal. A movie I watch pretty regularly, and it was on TV just like a week or so ago, and I watched the whole thing. Yeah, she's fantastic in the movie. She's fucking awful. She's the worst. But
yeah.
she's
not as bad as James
terrific.
Woods. James Woods is the worst in that movie.
He's the worst in that movie and in real life.
Yeah, he is, but he's a fucking good actor.
He is.
He's a good actor. He might be a piece of shit, but
that movie, the acting is superb.
He's not a piece of shit like Mel Gibson's a piece of shit, though. He's just a piece of shit because he's a fucking politically fucking obtuse human being. But I don't even know if I said that correct, but if I did, feel free to use politically obtuse.
I like it.
This movie was also nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. But it lost.
What did it lose to?
It lost to The Scarlet Letter.
Oh, okay. I never saw that.
I didn't either. We had to read that fucking book in high school.
Were you like, can we watch the movie now? And they went, absolutely not.
I said, no, I didn't even fucking read it. I was like, fuck you. I was going against the man. No, I probably didn't read it because I
find the Cliff's Notes.
I was lazy.
You watch the movie and it's like, and this is the part where Demi Moore gets naked.
You know what I would do in high school when we had to read a book and we had to discuss it? Like we would read it and then we'd discuss a chapter and stuff like that. I would never read it. I would just listen to the discussions. Then when we took a test, I would just like pass.
Nice.
Because I would just like kind of gather what happened in it. Yeah.
Very
that's
clever.
what I did. There was no Cliff's Notes. There was no internet. I couldn't like look it up.
You just had to listen the old-fashioned way.
Look up on IMDb and get the facts. All right, let's talk about this movie. This movie is actually based. It is a remake. Well, kind of. It's not a remake. It's just another adaptation of a book, right?
Yeah, because there's another version of this movie that came out in like the early 60s, right?
Yeah, John Carpenter saw the original version when he was 12. So
Okay.
that's how long ago that fucking thing was. John Carpenter's like 128 today, I think. Like he's in his 70s, I would say. So yeah, it probably came out in like the early 60s.
That makes sense. I think he was born in like 48, so that puts the movie about 1960.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so there's this town of Midwich, California, and they're all like just going about their day. You got the doctor, who's Christopher Reeve, and his wife, who's a realtor, and she's showing a house to this cute young couple. And then you got Linda Kozlowski, who's married to Michael Paré, and they're like helping put on this.
Yeah, she's
town
like the school
carnival.
principal or something, right?
She's something.
Something
She's
school-related.
Yeah. And they're going to put on this carnival and he's helping her out. And she's like, can you go pick up the helium? And he's like, yeah, I'll go pick up the helium. So he leaves and he's like, always runs into all these people and he's all, hey. But he has to drive out of town to go get the helium. Well, he's gone. Mark Hamill, who's the town preacher, shows up to this carnival. Another lady shows up and she's like, oh, my husband's due back from his trip to Japan. That he's been gone for
Like a year or something, right?
Yeah. What the fuck is he doing over there? But at first I thought, oh, he's in the service or something. And then he shows up and it's that
Peter Jason. You're like, nope.
Like, oh no, he's old. She's like, yeah, he's due back in a couple of weeks, so it'll be great to see him again. And so we learn all this information really quick. First 10 minutes, like we're meeting all these characters. And it's like boom, 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 boom. And they even make a joke like, who's making the hot dogs today? And they're like, old Phil Smith. And they're like, oh, I love my hot dogs burnt. That'll come into play here in a little bit. But anyway, they're like, I love my, and they like laugh about
You're
it.
like, oh, so what's his name? He loves playing with wieners, right, buddy? And he's like, yes.
So Kozlowski goes in because the preacher, Luke Skywalker's like, hey, we need finger paints. It's
for
like,
the
hey,
kids.
motherfucker, you got legs? What
I thought that too. I was like, why
doing?
don't you get it yourself? Use the force, motherfucker. Pull that shit towards you.
So she goes, oh, I'll go get him. She goes into like
The classroom.
and she pulls out the finger paints. And then what's his name? Who's the guy who's the drunk?
Oh, George Buck Flower.
George Buck Flower. He's in this movie too, and he's also in He's also in like John Carpenter.
He always
films.
plays the same part.
Yeah, the drunk. And so he's like taking a nip off of Granny's cough syrup, and all of a sudden both of them just pass out.
Yep.
And the canary who's in the classroom passes out.
Yeah, but they passed out from shock of seeing them. And, oh.
And then it's like, I thought a pudding cat. The whole town, all of a sudden, one by one, we just start seeing motherfuckers pass out.
It's collapsing.
Pop. And then it just shows like the grocery store, fruits and veggies on the ground, people on the ground.
It's kind of a cool scene, like a little bit of a montage of like crashed cars and just
Yeah.
everybody just passed out.
Yep. So Pare's driving along
Whoa.
because he wasn't in town.
Right.
He was out to get the helium, and neither was Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve was out of town as well.
Yeah.
Because he was doing his doctor stuff at the hospital. So Pare comes back, and he starts seeing all the cows passed out in the field, and he's like, what the fuck is that? And he's not paying attention to the road, and he looks, and there's a truck in the middle of the road.
And he goes, oh shit, swerves.
Immediately his truck blows up.
Well, he like passes out too, right? He's like, he swerves out of the way, and I think he must have crossed some sort of invisible line, because then he's like, oh, he passes out, but yes, he crashes and the truck just explodes.
It's the helium tank. I'm like, helium's not explosive, but
I liked that cut too, because like you see his truck coming, and I don't know if you caught this, but like there's a shot where there is no one driving that truck.
yeah, I didn't see
There's
that.
like no person there, and then when it cuts back and it's close up, it's clearly a dummy in the front seat.
Yeah, there's another scene.
There's a wonderful dummy coming up.
A dummy. But yeah, so he passes out. So now as the audience, we realize that there's some shit. I do want to talk about something real quick that I didn't even talk about at the beginning. When the credits are rolling at the beginning and it's showing kind of the setting of the town, there's like a black cloud that's passing over the town. It's an unnatural shadow of a cloud passing over. So that's something, I would imagine. So Christopher Reeve comes back and he gets stopped because there's a bunch of police officers and Kirstie Alley at this line that they've painted on the road because they're like, anybody who crosses this line,
you're gonna pass out. Don't do
passes out. And they even tested that theory. They put this guy in a gas mask and they have him cross the line.
They got him like tethered, like he's got a rope around his waist and he starts walking like Hurt Locker style. And,
and he passes out and they pull him back. So Kirstie Alley explains what's going on to Christopher Reeve, and they're both doctors, and she is like saying like, hey, this is what's going on. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, is my wife affected? And they're like, yeah, probably. And he's like, okay,
like,
cool.
Is she in town? Like, yeah, well, yeah, she's probably screwed, buddy.
But I mean, like, he's very like analytical about it. He's not like going, my fucking
Where's my
wife?
wife?
And running
Let
for
me
it.
get across that line. Oh.
No, he's just
Dude,
like,
that'd be awesome. And then they like pull him back and wake him up and he's like, let me get out. Like, you've done this 20 times. Stop.
But they all of a sudden everybody starts waking up.
Yep.
And now it cuts to all those shots that we saw earlier of people passing out. Crocodile Dundee woman, she wakes up. Mark Hamill wakes up. This young girl. Oh, I forgot to mention this young girl. That's Patton Oswalt's wife,
Right.
Meredith Salinger. She plays Melanie. Melanie wakes up. And all these other people, and then it cuts to that like that barbecue or whatever, where the guy was cooking the hot dogs.
He did not wake up.
The hot dogs were burnt, but so was that guy because he fell into the grill.
Yeah, he passed out onto the grills, just cooked his face.
Oh fuck, that was awesome.
What a way to
did
go.
love that.
Yeah, I like that too.
So they're like, we don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah, but everybody seems to be okay.
Yeah, they test everybody. Everybody's okay. A few weeks after this, now all of a sudden, there's about 10 women in the town who are all pregnant.
Yeah, and like it starts with Pare's wife. Like she's like walking or something at school and she's like, oh, I don't feel so good. I'm gonna go to the doctor and he's like, oh, there's your problem right here. You got a baby in you.
Yeah, before Michael Pare died, she and he were talking about having a baby.
They're trying to have a baby.
So she's like, oh, we were trying. So she's like kind of happy about it, I guess, but sad.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve's wife is pregnant.
Yeah, and right away he's concerned. Like he hasn't said anything yet, but he's like, yeah, that's okay. Because I think she expected him to be a lot happier.
Yeah. The woman whose wife or whose husband was away in Japan and was coming back, she's pregnant.
Uh-oh.
And now all of a sudden her husband's back and he's like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
and that was kind of a weird scene too, because everybody was like, welcome back, whatever your name is. And they're like, how does it feel to, you're going to be a father?
Yeah, it's like these people are fucking worse at math than me. Like, he's clearly not the father. And I also thought it was a little weird that there wasn't a scene. I mean, like there's tension between the two, so we feel it. But there was never a conversation like, hey, I haven't been with anybody. So then I was like, was she fooling around?
No, it was just a lot of looking at the camera and tears coming by. Also, Meredith Salinger, the Melanie character, she's like this young high school girl, and she's a virgin, and she's pregnant.
And did they ever say that she's a virgin? Or is this kind of implied? They do? Okay.
No, they said that she's a virgin.
Her parents are like, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So all these pregnancies start happening like mysteriously, like immaculate conception type stuff.
Yeah.
And Kirstie Alley comes back and they have a town meeting. And Christopher Reeve's like, everybody just calm down.
Everybody's like, all right, hold on.
And Kirstie Alley is like, look, if you guys want to get an abortion, you can get an abortion. Nobody's going to stop you from doing that, which is at this time, 1995, I guess they could talk about it. But back in 1960, they couldn't talk about it. So that was like not in the original version.
Was something new.
Yeah. I don't know if it was in the book, but
yeah.
That was one of the things.
Oh, and so I like that she addresses too, like, this appears to be connected to the day that everybody blacked out. So
yeah,
she puts it on Front Street.
Yeah, and they're like, what? Kirstie Alley says, if you want to have an abortion, that's fine. If you don't, we'll pay for all the prenatal care. The government will. And we'll give you $3,000 a month to help with your expenses, and so we can do testing on
Right,
you.
yeah,
and
the condition is that they still get to run tests and stuff on the babies.
And then everybody's eyes light up.
Yeah, and the one guy's like, hey, what if your wife and your daughter, because and she's like, that would be $6,000 a month. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and he starts smiling. He's like, all right, well, I guess it's okay that you got knocked up, kid, and you're having that baby. So now everybody decides that they're going to have the babies. You tell people that they're going to get paid to have a child, and they'll do it. I'll tell you this right now. If someone was like, we'll give you $3,000 a month if you have this kid, $3,000 a month would help out a lot.
It's a life changer.
I mean, you're not going to be able to like fucking quit your job, but
no, but it's nice.
it'll be a nice little stipend. There'd be a lot more motherfuckers out there in the world who would have kids if you got paid $3,000. I'm going to tell you that right now. Everybody gets pregnant. This all happens relatively quickly too. It's like, boom, they're pregnant. And now in the back of my head, I was like, is this all going to happen like in the span of a week? And they're going to know that these kids are like superhuman, and then they're going to grow really fast. But it happens over the course of time.
Yeah, because it cuts to like basically 9 months later.
Yep. And they all give birth in the barn the same night. And 5 girls and 5 boys are born. Although
So
Melanie,
there were 11 people. Well, 10 pregnant, but
there was 10.
Yeah, one of them.
But Melanie gives birth to a stillborn.
Yeah, girl. And Kirstie Alley immediately like wraps it in a blanket and takes it away. And she's like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, your baby's stillborn.
She hides it from everybody.
Yeah, not at all fishy.
Now, at first, I thought she hid it because it wasn't dead. And
I thought
she
that
took
too.
It alive, and she was going to do her own little testing on it. But I later realized why she hid it.
Same. Yeah, and at first, like, when I thought it was alive, I was like, why isn't that baby crying?
Yeah. So it did die, but it wasn't quite all the way developed, and it was looking kind of funky.
Yeah, we'll get a good look at it a little later.
Yeah. All the kids are born, well, like we said, except for the one was dead, and they're healthy. They all have really pale skin, and they have like white blonde hair and blue eyes.
And they're super smart.
Super smart. So much so that when David, who is like, there's 2 main kids. There's David and Mara. Mara's kind of the leader. She's Christopher Reeve's daughter. And David is Crocodile Dundee's daughter. Or son, excuse me.
Right.
But and they all pair up. So it's like 1 girl and 1 boy, and they're all pairing up to be together. Mm-hmm. And David's partner was the one who wasn't born.
Yeah,
alive.
so he's the lonely one.
Yep, he's kind of off by himself. I should say we do find out, I don't know if it's here or if it's later on, that this happened in other parts of the world.
We find it out later, but yeah.
And in one part of the world, they all got died when they were born or some shit. I don't remember. And then another part of the world, they were born and some weird shit starts
But we find
happening.
out there's like several different colonies where this has happened. And it's all kind of like in isolated areas, I think.
The mom of Mara is like making some soup one day while waiting for her friend Linda Kozlowski to come over with David to have a play date with Mara. Right? They're raising these kids like, okay, it's weird, but
whatever. But it's my kid.
And David's like, I don't know, maybe a year or not even, and probably not even a year. And he's playing with some blocks on the floor, and he spells his name out.
Yeah, the mom's like, holy shit.
Yeah. So she takes him over for the play date. Now, Mara's mom is making soup, right? Christopher Reeve's wife. And she gives some to little Mara to eat, and it's too hot.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Mara throws the shit down. By the way, the kid playing Mara, it looked like she was like 4. And she's playing like a 1-year-old. It was kind of a weird dynamic.
Kid did look a little big, yeah.
She looked big and old compared to David, but I don't know if that was a choice.
Yeah. She's like, I'll get even with you, Mom.
Yeah, and she start giving her the stare down, and her eyes glow. And Mom's like, what's wrong? And she's like freezes, and then Mom starts slowly like looking at her own hand, and then she takes her hand and she just shoves it in the boiling water.
Yeah, and she's screaming, and she can't even do anything to pull it out. She's totally hypnotized by this kid.
Yep. So Linda Kozlowski just shows up, right? And so she busts down the door, and she's like, get your arm out of there. What the fuck are you doing?
She pulls it out of the pot, and then she puts it back in. And she's like, no, get your hand out of there.
Yeah, and Mara finally gives in, and it cuts to the hospital, and Christopher Reeve's like, what's going on? How did this happen? Now, it's about here in the movie that all the parents start going, fuck these kids. These kids are evil.
These kids are the worst.
Especially because the mom and Mara doesn't like the mom, so Mara makes the mom commit suicide.
Yeah, she just like gives her the stink eye and makes her jump off a cliff.
Yep.
And Christopher Reeve is like, no, Barbara.
Yeah, so he's all sad about that, like you would be.
Yeah. Oh, and Mara, I think around this time too, tells Christopher Reeve, like, straight up tells him, like, we can read minds, right?
Yeah. They all start understanding what's going on, and that Mara's the leader, and they're like, we can't do anything because they can read our mind and they can control us. So it's kind of like that fucking Twilight Zone episode.
I thought that too, like the think happy thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or else you go out to the cornfield. That's where he banishes you.
That's a good episode.
Oh, it's awesome. There's a good Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode that like does that story.
Yeah, is Maggie
It's
the
Bart
one who can read? Oh, it's Bart.
Yeah. Oh, and the Mara at one point she's getting an eye exam, and the doctor put something in her eye. That
It wasn't
burns.
Mara. It was another one.
Oh, it was a different kid. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
kid like forces the doctor to like burn her eyes out.
Yeah, and she forces her to blind herself.
Yeah.
We could talk about this. Let's talk about the deaths that because this is what happens, right? So it's just like people piss them off, they kill them. People piss them off, they kill them.
Yeah, they have like no conscience. There's like no humanity except for
No.
David. David's like, he's still weird, but he genuinely cares about people. He doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, because his partner died, and so he feels sadness about that.
Right. And the other ones have like no emotions.
Yep.
Other than scorn.
So let's see. I don't know what order these all happen in. Oh, I should say that Meredith Salinger, Melanie the Virgin, she's at the cemetery, and she talks to David, and David reads her mind and sees that she's going to go home and blow her brains out.
Yeah.
Because she's been a mess since her baby was born still.
Yeah. And I kind of expected him to stop her or do something, but he does not. And she kills herself.
No, he's just like, oh, well, that's what she's going to go do tonight.
That's her destiny.
They force Mark Hamill to blow his brains out.
Because he's going to snipe one of them. He's got Mara, I think it was Mara, I don't know, like in his sights. Oh, yeah, you're right. He gets fucking clever girled, like Jurassic Park style. Because he's got her in his sights and he's getting ready to shoot her. And all of a sudden he turns his head and there's like 5 other kids right next to him. He's like, fuck. And then they like mind meld with him and force him to blow his brains out.
Yeah, and he does it the fucked up way where he goes under his chin. Yeah. Because, man, there's been times where people try to kill themselves going under the chin, and all they do is blow their mouth off.
Yeah.
They don't die.
Got to do it right. Well, he did it right.
If you're going to do it right.
I think George Buck Flower, I think he might be one of the first. His is kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
Because Christopher Reeve at one point decides, I think Crocodile Dundee lady like asks him to teach the children or whatever, and at first he's
because
like,
the children respect him.
Yeah,
right.
And at first he's like, no, and eventually he kind of agrees, and he's teaching a lesson, but he gets called away for a second, so he leaves the room. So it's just the drunk janitor in there with the kids, and he's just being like, oh, what are you gonna do? And like,
I'm gonna kill all you kids.
That's what he like smack one upside the head, or he hits her with a broom, or he does something to piss her off.
Yeah.
And she does the glow eyes, like the whoosh. And he's like, and slowly starts walking out of the room, and then walks outside, and he goes up to a ladder
to the roof,
and just slowly, step by step, starts going up the ladder. And I was like, oh shit, what's this guy gonna do? And then he takes his broom or his mop handle or whatever, I think it was a broom, and like puts it next to his stomach. And I was like, what the hell's he gonna do now? And then he just falls off the building onto his own truck and impales himself through his belly into the truck. He's very dead.
The dummy.
The dummy. Yeah, it's a really bad dummy.
It doesn't even look like him. But yeah, that was a cool kind of death. Let's see here.
And that night, Mara like has a conversation with Christopher Reeve, and she's like, "There's going to be some changes," and he's like, "Oh God," because he knows these kids are killing people.
Yeah, and what they decided to do is they're going to move out to the barn, to this barn where they were all born at, and they're going to live there.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm moving out. I'm getting my own place.
And you're going to bring us supplies. And because we're smarter than all of you, we can read your mind. We can control you. So this is what you're going to do.
It's better this way."
And like all the parents, one by one, drop them off and just like
speed
off.
You got it, kid. Whatever you say. And I think it's around this time Kirstie Alley meets up with Christopher Reeve and shows him the dead baby. She's like, all right, I got to level with you. Here's what's going on.
We get a quick flash of the dead baby. It looks like the alien autopsy. Like,
Yes. Fact or fiction.
Yeah. And it's like just this alien in a bottle, in a jar, right?
Yeah.
In fluid, just kind of floating there. And it's been cut open a little bit. It's big eyes and shit like that. So
Yeah, and, little alien vagina. It was a girl.
Yeah, it was a girl. Who else dies? Oh, somebody gets run off the road with their car. Oh, this is Peter Jason.
Mark Hamill's wife's got a good death.
Yeah, that one happens in a second. But Peter Jason goes and he's like, I want to pick up my daughter. My wife's going crazy. And they're like, she doesn't want to go with you. And he's like, okay. And he drives away and drives into like this propane tank and blows himself up.
Blows up.
That was pretty cool. Cool. So Mark Hamill, after he kills himself, his wife is like, "Fuck these kids," and she's like leading a town, like the pitchforks and
with like torches and shit.
And she's going down there to burn down the barn where they're all at.
Big mistake.
They stop them and they look at her. She looks at them. She freezes and then she like lights herself on fire, like the
torches herself.
Immolation.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Torches herself and she burns to a crisp. They send cops and the military there, and then the kids like pit the cops against the military.
That was a cool scene.
Yeah, and they
have like a shootout, and they're like shooting each other, and cops are killing other cops, and army guys are killing cops, and vice versa.
Yeah, because they can't control.
They shoot down a helicopter. Mm-hmm. Kirstie Alley, I think around this time, gets hypnotized as well.
Oh yeah, because they find the baby in the bottle. She shows them the kids. Oh,
and we should say, like, through the whole movie, I think it's Mara keeps trying to read Kirstie Alley's mind, and she's like, "You're hiding something. Like, you're good. Yeah. I'm not able to read your thoughts, but you've got something in there, and I'm going to figure it out." And
then Christopher Reeve also finds a way to block them.
Yeah, he's very good.
But Kirstie Alley, eventually, they figure out what she's hiding, and they find her in a moment of weakness, and she's like, "I'm going to help you guys. I'm going to help you guys." And so she shows them the baby that was born. And then they get pissed off at her and they make her like lay down on the operating table and like give herself her own fucking like autopsy.
Yeah. Like
even when she's alive.
Gets a scalpel and slices herself open.
Yeah. That was kind of cool. I should also say, like, it doesn't really show anything. Like, there's no gore.
It reminded me a lot of Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
For several reasons, most of them very obvious.
Yeah. Linda Kozlowski is like, look, my son, David, he's good. The rest of them, they're fucks.
Fuck them.
And Christopher Reeve's like, my daughter, Mara, she's a fuck.
She's the goddamn devil. She's the worst of them. And he's like, there's only one thing that we got to do, and you know what that is. And he locks her in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "No, get me out of here." Which I thought was hilarious because there's a big ass fucking window in the door
that you can just break.
And she eventually does break, but it takes her a long time to figure out that glass
she's
breaks.
Like, "Look, this is not my property. I do not want to owe any money."
It's vandalism.
Come on, we're trying to teach these kids. But she says to Christopher Reeve as he's running away, she's like, "Save David."
Yeah, and he makes no promises.
He's going to, though, because he gets a bunch of dynamite and puts it in his briefcase, and he's going to go teach the kids a lesson or something, right? And so he goes down there and he sets a timer. I don't know. This guy can work out a bomb. He's watched the A-Team.
I thought that too. It's like, holy shit. I mean, he's a doctor, so he's smart, but like, god damn, he's got bomb building skills too. Watch out for this guy.
So he goes in there and he's got to block out the fucking kids from reading his mind. So he just thinks of a brick wall, and they're like, "You're thinking of a wall." And he's like, "Hey, I left some of my notebooks out in my car. David, will you go get them for me?" And David's like, "Okay, sure." And then Mara's like, "No, don't go. What are you thinking? What are you hiding?" And it's like a brick wall.
I'm not hiding shit.
And it like visualizes what she sees, and it's a brick wall. And she's trying to penetrate the brick wall. And then the others come next to him, and they're trying to penetrate the brick wall. And he's like, "No."
Yeah, Christopher Reeve's like, "Ah!"
And then Linda Kozlowski, she comes in and she grabs David, and there's like this like back and forth. The same scene happens twice where she grabs David, and then Mara's like, "No, stop." And then she grabs David.
Yeah, and like freezes her, and she's like, "Oh!"
And then she grabs him again.
And then they got to go back to Christopher Reeve. Yeah. They're not very good multitaskers.
No. So she does get David, and she does escape. And then right when she escapes, Christopher Reeve's like, run quick. And then they go back to him and they break down that wall and they see that the briefcase is in there, that there's a timer set for a certain time. Then they all look at the clock and the clock
I'm like, oh, fuck.
strikes that
time is now.
The time is now. And they blow up.
Yep, and they all die.
And Kozlowski gets in the car with David and they drive and she's like, we're going to go someplace where nobody knows who we are.
The end.
And that's actually, I think that's the exact line that she says. That's the end. Yeah. So here's my thing about this. And I know we kind of glossed through this movie. It was 98 minutes, but there's a lot to gloss through because it's very like this happens, this happens, this happens. A lot of introduction, and then it's the same shit happens for like 60 minutes.
Yeah, it's just a lot of kids getting pissed off at somebody and killing them.
Yep. Without like really good payoffs, I feel like less good setups and worse payoffs. So I think what this movie suffers from is that it's a poor adaptation, probably. I don't know. The idea of the story is really good. And I feel like as I was writing my review down for this, and I won't tell you what I rated it, but maybe you can give me your thoughts on this as well. I feel like you could do this as a limited series.
Yeah, I could see that. FYI, I'm also trying to like break through your brick wall to figure out what you rated this movie.
You can't.
I'll get you.
I'm thinking of a big penis. That's all I'm thinking of. You could do a limited series so we could actually get to know all the characters. We could get to know all the humans. Yeah, and
the kids, because the kids are all kind of, and this is one of my criticisms. They all look the same, so I got confused. I got confused while we were talking about it at one point, like because they all look the same, which I thought was weird. Like, so they all got to have this weird pumpkin pie hair. Like, you couldn't give them all different haircuts.
And they all wear the same clothes. It's like...
Yeah, one couldn't have, like, a fucking faux hawk.
Yeah.
With some spiky hair. Or, like, one couldn't have bangs. One a ponytail, maybe on the side.
Maybe there
like,
was one that,
something.
like listening to Debbie Gibson records or something. Yeah. So I think it would be cool, like, if we could get more on the alien characters, the kids, but as well as more on the adults.
And so that we care about them when they die.
We care for them when they die. Or... they're horrible people and
we want them to die.
Deaths are justified. Like that would be kind of cool. Like they like Buck Flowers.
Yeah, but you also know like that guy's for sure gonna die.
But I think with a limited series you could set up the deaths so much greater. And you could almost do this, David. Here's an idea that I thought of also. What if you started with an older David in a new town and he's remembering back to
like
this
telling the
stuff,
story,
and then you could go off a forward story as well, so you could have the flashback, but also now this David who's in this new town where nobody knows him is the good one, like Firestarter, right?
Yeah, but all the stories that he tells that involve himself are all very exaggerated. Like at one part, like the people like interrupt the episode, like, wait a second, you were fucking flying? He's like, oh hell yeah, I was flying. Yep. With my penis dragging on the ground the whole way.
Anyway, that's my idea of how to make that better. Yeah. That being said, I don't think John Carpenter did a bad job directing this movie. And I read a review or a synopsis of a review that Roger Ebert gave it at the time. Roger Ebert gave it 2 out of 4, I think.
Okay.
Which was very generous of him, I think, for this movie, because he said that John Carpenter did a good job directing it. And I think he did, for the most part.
I would agree. And it's shot well. Like Carpenter's got a style. Like you can tell this is his. You can tell he's directed it.
Yeah, it's directed by somebody who's capable of directing a movie. That being said, this movie sucks. It gets 1 Pamela Voorhees head.
1. Okay, we're pretty close. I'm a little higher. I went 2 on this one, just because I found the story somewhat interesting. Just the execution was lacking. I agree with you. I think all the characters they're not fleshed out, so we don't have anybody to root for or against, really. Mm-hmm. The special effects, there really aren't any.
No.
Yeah, everything that happens is off camera. Like even like, and I understand for budget reasons, but I mentioned they crashed a helicopter at one point. They didn't. The helicopter starts to go down and then it cuts away and we see an explosion in the background. So it's like kind of stuff like that. It just had kind of a made for TV kind of feel. And that's what I was saying earlier about Children of the Corn. I got kind of the same vibe. Like, this is one of those movies that's rated R, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
But by today's standards, like, The Walking Dead does shit way crazier than anything that's in this movie.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I just thought for, like, a horror, like R-rated horror movie, like this movie's pretty soft.
It's also 1995, so
yeah, and a small budget and all that, so I get it. But I found myself bored, which is like the worst offense. And we've talked about this in several episodes. Like, I'll take a bad movie over a boring movie just because there's something to make fun of, but there really isn't a whole lot to really latch onto this movie.
No, and I don't want to make fun of anything because the entire time that I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking Christopher Reeves, a month after this came out, is now paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of his fucking life.
Dude, and he was actually very good in this movie. I thought he was one of the highlights.
Totally good in this movie. I didn't realize, when I think of Christopher Reeve, I think of Superman.
Yeah.
And he was very good in this movie. And I was like, I would have loved to see him do more things. And I think he probably would have done more things.
Yeah. Like the scene where he's talking to the kids and he's trying to get David to go out to the car. Like, I thought he did a really good job with like his nonverbal acting. Like, if you kind of watch his mannerisms, like he's kind of tapping his finger, like in the briefcase, like you can tell he's nervous.
Yeah.
I just thought he did a good job.
He did do a good job. I think this movie, 1.5 Pamela Voorhees Heads. Yeah, that's fine. Sidebar here. I kept talking about Christopher Reeves and how, he would have been such a good actor and stuff like that. I watched a documentary that everybody should watch. It's called Still.
Oh, dude, I want to see that so bad.
The Michael J. Fox story or whatever. I don't know the subtitle of it, but it's titled Still. It's on Apple Plus, Apple TV, whatever the fuck it's called. It is one of the best documentaries that I've seen in a long time.
I've heard it's fantastic.
And I love Michael J. Fox regardless. I love
me too.
All of the movies that he did in the 90s, the cheesy movies like Greed and oh God, now I'm not Secret of My Success, but I did love that movie too.
That's a good one from the 80s.
Doc Hollywood, The Frighteners. We've reviewed that movie before. So he did all these good movies, and then poor guy, he gets Parkinson's. My son watched it with me and he loved it. He goes, I didn't realize how much shit Michael, no, you didn't say that, but how much stuff Michael J. Fox had been in and how like good he was.
Yeah.
I'm like, the guy was amazing. And especially in the 80s when Back to the Future came out, like he was like top
Oh yeah,
dog.
he was larger than life.
Yeah. He was on Family Ties winning Emmys. He was in Back to the Future, which like is Back to the Future is like one of the greatest movies ever made. Like bar none, story-wise, music, directing, acting, it is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah, I want to see that documentary. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I tried to get the wife to watch it the other night. She's not a big documentary person, but I'll get her. Or I'll just watch it when she's not around.
Does she like Michael J. Fox?
She does.
Okay.
And actually, that's not true that she doesn't like documentaries. She's got to be in a very particular mood.
And they weave in footage from his movies and his film career and TV career. So it like tells the story through clips of his show. So it's like I walked into this room and they'll show like Alex P. Keaton walking into a room, and it'll like, I don't know. They do it very well.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
It's very well edited and put together. So highly recommend it. He's going to be at Philadelphia Fan Con or Fan Expo or whatever the fuck it's called.
Oh, cool. You going to go?
No, because I can't go. I could have gone on June 2nd, but he's not going to be there till June 3rd. It's the weekend of June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I could have gone because I'm going to be down in Philadelphia on June 2nd.
Oh, man. That's the weekend I'll be at Monsterpalooza.
Yeah.
Bummer.
It is a bummer because I would have loved to have met him. But I think also I probably would have been really sad.
Yeah.
Seeing him in person. But what are you going to do? Anyway, that's that. Village of the Damned. We ended on a downer. Well, can we talk about that? It's an upper. I don't know. Village of the Damned, 1.5 Pamela Voorhees Heads. If you have any thoughts on the Village of the Damned, just keep them to yourself. You can, however, contact us if you want to say anything to us for the final episode. You can call us.
Well, we still have our normal channels of Twitter, Facebook, The Slash Rap, TikTok, YouTube, Hive. Search the Swearwolves on those platforms. On Instagram, search the Swearwolves Podcast. You can email us. Actually, a listener from Germany reached out to us via email a couple of days ago. I was exchanging some emails with him.
Oh.
And I apologize. I can't remember your name, but yeah, thanks for reaching out. That email address is contact@theswearwolves.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it at 623-282-1851.
So for the Swearwolves this week, I'm Brett.
I'm David.
David, what am I thinking of?
Oh, you pervert. Episode 247 of the Swearwolves. Take 1. It's up to you. We can keep trying. At least it reconnects quickly.
Someone's fucking motorcycle is backfiring big time.
To all my neighbors, you got a much flavor.
He's back.